her baby will not breastfeed until she had taken cocaine. The woman is not going to leave because the man is not comfortable. I'm not leaving because the man is not comfortable. I am staying if the man is uncomfortable until he becomes comfortable. If you can't work with me because I'm a woman, then quit. This female boss issue is really propaganda against women. This Gen Z, they care about the climate. At some point, I was being called tramadol mama. Her biological father was sexually abusing her. Her mother was aware. In the middle of the night, her mother goes to call her and say, your father is calling you. I've always wanted to do something. I wanted my voice to be heard and also to be seen.
You love the spotlight.
I do. Is it so bad?
Hello and welcome to the Sustainable Africa series. I am Ernest Chicho. Our guest on the program today is an extraordinary figure whose work spans the realms of women's empowerment, health advocacy, and media.
This award goes to Nana Aba.
Thank you to everyone who voted for me. Please keep watching GHOne TV.
Nana Aba Anamoah is not just an award-winning journalist and the general manager of GHOne TV in Ghana. She is a dynamic force for change. From championing the fight against drug abuse to advocating for gender equality and facilitating dialysis treatments for many in Ghana, Nana's impact is profound.
We're all looking forward to the day where we have more women in the media than men.
My dad introduced me at a very early age to news. One of the people that I fell in love with on TV was Larry King. And I never missed Larry King's show because my father loved Larry King live. He always bought me a book as a present. So I grew up reading a lot of books. And so I was a very curious person. And so from age 9, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on TV. And I was inspired by some people on Ghanaian TV as well, some women on Ghanaian, very powerful women.
Who, for example?
Barbara Sam, she later became Barbara Gazy. I loved her to bits. I remember when I was in class 3, I wrote a letter to her that I loved her so much and I wanted to meet her. She never replied, but
Probably never saw your letter.
I'm sure because I grew up and I'm getting letters and sometimes I don't see them, sometimes I can't respond. So
Nana was only 13 when she convinced her teacher to launch a campus news agency. That's back in high school.
he bought the idea. He sold it to the headmistress. She also accepted it. And before I knew it, I had a campus news agency.
Well, it's been more than 15 years since Nana began thriving as an on-air media personality, admired by many in Ghana and attracting millions of followers on social media. She told me how much she enjoys being in the spotlight, despite the ups and downs it brings.
I've always wanted to do something. I wanted my voice to be heard and also to be seen. You know, I've always loved that. And so...
You love the spotlight.
I do. Is it so bad?
No, it's a good thing.
I think the positives outweigh the negatives. Sometimes the negatives do get to me, but I think about the good I would do for other people, and that gives me some comfort.
Nana also shared some examples of how her commitment to doing good has led to impactful initiatives related to Sustainable Development Goal number 3, that is health and well-being.
I got a letter from a group of people living with kidney disease, and they are unable to afford dialysis treatment.
Right.
And it's just less than $100. Fortunately, because it's a campaign year, there are a lot of promises going on. The vice president decided that people below 18 and those above 60 should get free dialysis treatment. But that group, that vulnerable group between 18 and 60, they form majority of the patients anyway. And so I had to try and raise funds for them. Raising funds for them wasn't a problem. Getting Ghanaians to contribute wasn't a problem. The issue was with the fact that people living with this disease are not getting jobs. They are laid off because they have this disease. And the fact that every week they need to take a day off, employers had a problem with that. This is a policy issue. Why are we discriminating against people because of a certain condition? It's not just them. It's persons living with HIV. You know, I'm always getting calls from people, I can't get access to ARV. So I think in the health sector, I've tried to do a lot of work. I've tried to raise money for a lot of people to get their surgeries done, but it shouldn't be so. So sometimes I feel I'm a beggar. I feel sometimes that people are going to get fed up with me and think Nana Aba is always coming to us.
Beggar for the needy.
For the needy. Nana Aba is always coming to us for money.
Another area of concern for Nana Aba is the rapidly growing issue of drug abuse, particularly among the youth.
There were drug peddlers who brought all sorts of tablets from other countries, and because of our porous borders, these tablets got into the communities. I was so shocked that so many of the young men and women in the neighborhoods were abusing these tablets. But it was after engaging them that I understood. Some of the tablets, you take them and you don't get tired. So you see these boys holding tubers of yam on the streets of Accra, and they hold them for so many hours, and you're wondering, aren't they tired? They've taken those tablets, so they don't feel tired. Yeah, they don't feel it. They are not tired. Then there are those who take, there was a particular one, it was blue. They take it because when you take one a day, you can only eat once. So you get a bowl of kenke, and for the rest of the day, you are not hungry. Because after taking that bowl of kenke, they don't know where the next meal will come from because they don't have the money. So if you get that tablet and it was so cheap and you take it and you get something small to eat, you're okay for the rest of the day. And then there were some who were also doing it because they felt macho, the young men, that they could have sex for a very long time, you know. So there were various reasons why they were abusing these tablets that they called tramadol, but we kept highlighting, we kept going to different neighborhoods, and there were times where people were scared for me because I was going to ghettos, you know, and we didn't have centers that were going to deal with addiction. And so some of them had had enough, they wanted to quit, they had no idea where to go. And so from all the stories that we did, the documentaries that we did, the government decided for the first time to set up a national addiction center in the Western region. And that was very impactful for us. We were very excited about it. And then the Food and Drugs Authority, and I have to give it to the head of the FDA, Dr. Mimi Dakun, she was very passionate about it. Again, a woman. A woman in charge. She was very, very passionate about it. She was angry that these drugs were getting into the country. She was very angry, but it wasn't just the anger. She was determined to do something about it. You know, they've moved on to tramadol, moved on from tramadol. Now they're mixing glue with energy drinks. There's always something new they're doing. But the excitement for me is that a lot of the young people that I engaged have been able to go off because I got friends who paid for their treatment, you know, because they didn't have the money to do it. But some of my friends are really kind, you know, so they will say, okay, I'll adopt this person for 6 months and let's see what happens after. A few of them have been able to go off. They're doing very well. They are engaged in different jobs, nothing fancy, but at least they are earning a living. Every single time we engage them, after we had doctors who would draw their attention to the repercussions of abusing these drugs. One of the episodes that broke my heart was in Kumasi. And there it wasn't just tramadol, it was the hard drugs as well. And I met this woman who had just had a baby, and her baby will not breastfeed until she had taken cocaine. Yes, and it was a baby, you know, a baby. And that broke my heart. It took me a while to recover, to record that episode. It was heartbreaking for me. After putting it out there, a group of Catholics reached out that they have an organization that could, you know, attend to this woman. So it was a very big sensitization drive, and every single person was on board. At some point, I was being called Tramadol Mama. I hated the name, the fact that I was called that, but I guess it also just highlighted the work that we were doing.
You were leading positive change, which is a beautiful thing.
Well,
one remarkable example of Nana's commitment to health advocacy was her involvement in the separation of conjoined twins in Ghana. Using her platform, she raised awareness and mobilized resources for the complex surgical procedure. Her efforts were instrumental in securing the necessary support and funding, ultimately leading to the successful separation of the twins.
Number 5, gender equality.
Why is that?
Because I think that the female population in my country, on the continent, across the world, outnumber the male population, and it's a fact. But representation is a problem. And I saw this at a very early age. I noticed that across the media landscape in Ghana, it was only men who were doing the tough interviews. Only a few women, you could count them on one hand. On radio morning show, it was just men. If a woman came in, she was probably doing the light interviews, lifestyle, entertainment, you know. And I had an issue with that. Last week, I had to send an email to the World Bank Group because they were discussing Ghana's economy, and the moderator was a man. All 5 panelists were men, and you're discussing the economy of Ghana.
It is absolutely important to know and talk about gender equality. But how many of us truly do the right thing when we are in positions of authority?
When I became a general manager of GHOne TV, the first thing I did was to, well, of course it was a fair recruitment, but I was looking for women who merited those positions. And so the head of news was a woman, or still is a woman. Personalities heading various desks were women. Not all of them, but majority of them were women. The directors, the producers, we make sure that we had fairness, you know, opportunity for everybody. Right. So it wasn't just because we wanted women, but these women really were hardworking. They deserved those positions, and they gave it their all.
So what's your strategy to lay off men?
I didn't lay off men.
So how you created vacancies for women? I'm interested.
Yeah, I didn't lay off men. Right. What I did was that, well, of course, in some of the positions, the men were incompetent. So we either reassigned them, or we just, you know, had a conversation with them, right. Had women deputizing, you know, with them. It was a very seamless job done. Right. You know, nobody had any qualms about what we were trying to do. Right. We achieved it. It was beautiful. Right. The men themselves realized that the women could do it, and it was a good partnership. I mean, I think people always forget that we're looking for collaborations and partnerships. It is not a competition between men and women, and we did it very well. The reporters, and it wasn't just women, also persons living with disabilities, you know. I felt that we always try to tell the story of persons living with disabilities without understanding, you know, what they were going through, what they were experiencing. So one of the things that I tried to do was to employ persons living with disabilities in the newsroom, so that there is a very inclusive newsroom.
Nana Aba is clearly not just a talker when it comes to inclusion and leaving no one behind. She's a doer. And if you happen to be one of those who doubt that women make excellent bosses, Nana had this for you.
I have never had a female boss issue. Every woman who has led me has been fantastic. Fantastic. I don't even know why people, I think that this female boss issue is really propaganda against women. It's the same as those who say women are their own enemies. How are women their own enemies? Listen, look at Gaza. It's men who are killing men. Why are men not their own enemies? Look at what has happened in so many countries. Men are killing men all the time. Why are we not saying men are their own enemies? But one woman does something little against another woman, which is wrong, but the whole agenda, women are their own enemies. I have never experienced that.
Have you had instances where, because you are a female boss, male subordinates did not give you the kind of respect they would otherwise give a male boss?
Yes, they tried, but I reminded them of who the boss is. And so if the kitchen is too hot for you, you jump out. If you can't work with me because I'm a woman, then quit, you know. But if you want to stay, then you have to respect me as a woman. And I'm not barking instructions because I want collaboration. I want us to work as a team. But I noticed that at some point, there are men who will do otherwise because how dare she? And so if you're not ready to work with a woman and the woman is in charge, then you might as well, find a new trajectory. The woman is not going to leave because the man is not comfortable. I'm not leaving because the man is not comfortable. I am staying if the man is uncomfortable until he becomes comfortable.
Driven by a strong desire to instill confidence in women and empower them, Nana launched a platform called Women of Valor. The platform serves as a safe space where women from across Africa meet each year to mark International Women's Day by sharing experiences and seeking solutions to the serious issues they face.
We had a lady, Eugenia, a Ghanaian lady, who had suffered so much sexual abuse. She came out, she told her story. It was the first time she was telling her story. And people broke down. I mean, majority of the women in there cried. What made her story so special is the number of women who were able to come out and say, this is what has happened to me. So for instance, there was a lady whose father, her biological father, was sexually abusing her, a 22-year-old, and it had been happening from age 17. Her mother was aware. In the middle of the night, her mother goes to call her and say, your father is calling you. And I thought maybe it's
In Ghana?
In Ghana. And I was thinking, which father would do this? And it turned out that it was her biological father. What we did was get the girl to leave the house. Now she's back in school, she's in the university, she's doing very well. Representation for women, number one. I mean, it is not so difficult to do, is it? It's just not difficult. We need to give more women opportunities. We've had men deal with our issues for so long, for instance, in my country, and look at where we are. Time to give women an opportunity as well, because I've seen women head organizations and they've turned the organizations around. They're doing amazing with organizations. And it should translate into all boardrooms. It should translate into the ministries, the agencies. It's just common sense. It's really simple. The second one is climate change. We talk a lot about climate change, but the actions are not there. Plastic waste is it's as if nobody cares about it. Everything is in plastic. I mean, if it's not in a black plastic bag, then you haven't really bought anything. Our rivers, our lagoons, they are threatened every single day from illegal mining. Young people should be listened to. This Gen Z, they care about the climate. A young person comes out, I'm doing advocacy for the climate, and they think, oh, this is a Gen Z problem. We have more serious issues. But it has a rippling effect on everything. It has a rippling effect on poverty, on everything. So we should take that seriously. But number one on the agenda should be representation. We need gender equality, real gender equality, and it should start from everywhere, from the UN to the World Bank, to the IMF, to countries, to organizations, to community, everywhere we need representation.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ernest.
Nana Aba's contributions to media, education, gender equality, health and economic growth make her a true champion for the Sustainable Development Goals. Her tireless work continues to inspire and drive positive change across Ghana and beyond. Well, that's where we end the program today. I am Ernest Chijo, wishing you God's blessings in abundance. Goodbye.